Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call to order our regular City Council meeting for Tuesday, October 15th, 2019. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome. Roll call, Sylvia.
Mayor Mays.
Here.
Council President Rosner.
Here.
Councilor Garland.
Here.
Councilor Grouse.
Here.
Councilor Young.
Here.
Councilor Griffin.
Here.
Councilor Scott.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Approval of consent agenda.
How about approval of agenda?
Approval of agenda.
I make a motion to approve agenda?
Second.
All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilor Young, for correcting me. We have 3 items on the consent agenda this evening. Item A is approval of October 1st, 2019 City Council meeting minutes. Item B is Resolution 2019-076, appointing Vicki Pompin to the Sherwood Cultural Arts Commission. And item C is Resolution 2019-077, authorizing the city manager to execute an intergovernmental agreement with Tigard and King City related to the 99 West corridor planning.
I move consent.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor of approving consent, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Council. Great. Item 6, citizen comments. Folks like to address Council on anything. We've got a cool form to fill out, and if you haven't yet, you can certainly do it. Dr. I apologize. So there, if you filled out the form, I'll call names up and you'll come right up. And if you haven't filled out a form, we'll let you come up and fill it out afterwards. But first form I have is for Dr. Russ Corbett. Yeah. Top of the pile. Please just introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Russ Court. I'm a chiropractic physician and board-eligible functional neurologist from the Sherwood Ice Arena. So today I wanted to address the City Council about what I'm seeing in the clinic regarding 4G. I know that 5G is on its way, and I want to discuss this quickly in 4 minutes about the what I believe is going to be a catastrophic health crisis, the biggest that we've ever seen on our planet. And I got to do that in 4 minutes. Most importantly, the 5G rollout. Just so you know, there are no safety studies done on 5G, none whatsoever. You know, everyone that I've spoken to at Intel and other corporations, no one really knows what it is. They all have little bits and pieces, and I think this is going to be a Trojan horse. What we do know is that it's microwave technology, and we also know that microwave cooks from the inside out. And so as a board-eligible neurologist, I work with the brain a lot, and I'm seeing a lot of really, really sick people and children, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit today in the next 2 minutes. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I take care of a lot of teachers that are beaten up by students. And in fact, I pulled some records off of KGWN. They had a program recently. In 2017 through 2019 school year, there were 1,788 staff injuries reported. 72% of those were assaults from children on teachers. Hillsborough, that was 72%. Hillsborough, in the same year, 2017 to 2019, 65% of the teachers were assaulted by children. And in Salem, 2018 to 2019, 73% of the teachers were assaulted by children. I don't know if you're aware of this, but recently, Oregon was the first state in the nation to pass a school wireless safety bill called SB 283. This is directing the Oregon Health Authority to review independently funded scientific studies of the health effects of exposure to microwave radiation, particularly exposure resulting from the use of wireless networks in our schools. As I said, there are no safety studies on 5G. And so this is to develop recommendations for the schools to practice the alternative technologies to reduce exposure to our children. This bill has declared Wi-Fi radiation in our schools a national emergency around the use of this wireless technology. So far, we have seen a dramatic increase in cancer clusters in schools that have cell towers. And here at the Sherwood School, there's a cell tower across from the middle school. Lake Oswego's got 2 cell towers right on their football field. So does Aloha High School, and the same in Newburgh. Classrooms in crisis, both, like I said earlier, faculty and students are experiencing symptoms of microwave radiation, severe neurological behavior, and acting out. These disruptive behaviors were just recently documented in the KGW Channel 8 series called Disruptive Behaviors. They have an excellent series, and I will also be speaking with the anchors on that. I'm asking for your help to keep our children safe. As a community, we have to do something. There are no safety standards. And the people that I treat now are severely sick from 4G. And the reason this is so personal is because I've been being affected by this wireless technology since 1999. And we're developing ways to mitigate the symptoms in my clinic. But in the last 6 weeks, Apple and Android have increased the power. There's a class action suit against them. They've increased the power of their phones up to 500%. And I noticed 6 weeks ago that I started becoming functionally impaired when I'm around a iPhone 10 or the most new Android phone. And our children are carrying these phones on them. They're in grave danger.
Well, Dr. Court, thank you for coming today and talking to us. We raised the point when we had the chatting about the 5G towers that, yes, there's no safety studies yet. We're mandated by the government to permit it under these certain conditions. But we, on our side, raised that point regularly.
We
And we passed a
passed a
resolution.
resolution encouraging some safety studies, which I believe we forwarded to our state reps and federal reps.
Yeah.
So that all came from the last time you were here
Right.
talking to us and the conversations you and I have had. So we appreciate the information.
I'm open to discuss this at length with anyone. The people that I'm seeing are really, these functional impairments are very, very serious, especially for our police officers, because they are the ones that are being, not only are they exposed themselves in their vehicles, they're in a Faraday cage of electronic barrage, but also they're dealing with electronically compromised psychosis in people that are in the area. We are seeing a dramatic increase in the mental health aspect of things as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Court.
Have a great night.
Susan Claus and Jim.
I put up at each of your spaces just a request that we're trying to make. Oh, Susan Claus, 22211 Southwest Pacific Highway. Jim and I would like to request either time in front of the council or a work session to talk to the council directly about some of the issues on 99. The sector that we're in right now is in a path of development, and we've got some specific issues that we want to talk directly with the council, so you have direct information from us, and would like to request to come before the council. And when we talked to Joe and to Josh, they said that you guys have a policy, and so your procedure here, what we wrote is just whatever's from your council rules that says if at least 3 of the council members vote, something can go on the agenda. And it doesn't matter to Jim and I if it's in a work session, which is a little more informal and allows for more questions, I guess. But that's the request.
Okay.
And if you could do it, the sooner the better, because there's a two-week time frame from when you guys, if you decide to move forward, then it's 2 weeks from the time that you guys request it to get on the agenda, a minimum of 2 weeks. And then before that 2 weeks, we have 3 days before that time that you put us on the agenda or the work session to get the materials to you. So we'd like to do all of that in,
We'll see if there's, if there is interest and if we can fit it in or not. I'm not sure, but we appreciate the request.
okay, thank you.
You bet. Larry Stroker? I apologize if I mispronounced your last name. Strohecker. Welcome, Larry.
I'm just a homeowner on Cedar Brook.
Okay.
I'm good. And you live on Cedar Brook, I think, don't you?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I thought you looked familiar. I thought one of the council members.
Across the highway from over there, so close.
The problem we have on the new addition to Cedar Brook.
Okay.
Where the apartments or they were built as condos and then turned into apartments.
Right.
On the corner of Cedar Brook and 99. Then they added on the D.R. Horton subdivision, back behind 67 Homes.
Yep.
Back right behind it, up to Mighty Key,
Right?
that little triangle there. What we have now is we have, the street got opened up, and we have probably 130 to 140 cars from the apartment complex parking in front of our houses, abandoning their cars, basically, leaving them parked there, and not moving them for 6 to 8 weeks at a time, bringing motorhomes in, bringing trailers in, bringing unlicensed vehicles in, and we can't seem to get anything done with it. We can't seem to get them towed, we can't seem to get them ticketed.
So Larry, have you been able to reach out to Joe or the police about it, or?
We've had many contacts with the police, and their hands are tied too, because they
There's a-
can't,
So
they
there's a,
can't tow.
so we have a process to do that, because there is a city ordinance that limits the amount of time that they can,
We've seen the city ordinance work, and they come out, the vehicle's been parked there for 6 weeks, gets turned in, gets tagged. They come out, they mark the wheels, shock the wheels, they put a tag on the window that says you have to move this vehicle within 3 days, or it's gonna be towed. The customer comes, or the owner of the vehicle comes on the 3rd day or 4th day, the vehicle's still there, they scrape the window, move it 30 feet ahead, and they're out of the zone, and they sit there for another 6 weeks. And the process starts all over again, even though the tag on the window says 500 feet away, you have to move it.
so I would in turn, Joe, this is in your wheelhouse of enforcing our code. And are we getting calls? Are we responding?
I have not received any calls in my office, but I think more importantly, you should talk to the police chief.
What
Who
we-
can-
no, I took some pictures before we came, just to see what we deal with. We have right now, before we came over here, the streets are lined on both sides with cars. And they're parking in the no parking zones. Last night I went out and counted, I stopped counting at 30 cars that were parked illegally. And there's probably 40 to 50 cars that were parked illegally in no parking zones, in crosswalks, in front of fire hydrants.
Yep.
And you come out and give tickets to them, but the next day they're back. There's no consequences to anybody.
Well, tickets are tickets.
$25, I guess they just take that as a, parking downtown or something and move on.
Well, I'm going to give your information. Let's exchange information with staff so that,
And my understanding too is that in the evenings, when we have the problems, it's always in the evenings, never in the daytime, because people leave and come back. About half of them leave, half of them stay there all the time. But when we call in on the non-emergency line, It doesn't go to Sherwood. It goes to Washington County. And then that doesn't get recorded with Sherwood for some reason.
Chief, can you respond to the call issue? I think the solution here is for the folks that are here tonight and anyone else to sit down with myself and the chief and have a discussion about how to address this issue. Obviously, I'm getting the sense that you're frustrated, and
Oh, yeah, we
and
have
I
a lot of,
understand that.
number one, there's a lot of kids in the area. It's a safety concern for us more than anything.
Sure.
Yeah.
I drive a truck, and I come off of Cedarbrook onto Devonshire, which is the first street in our subdivision. People are parked up into the crosswalks on both sides and in. So I have to swing way out and around. I can't see around the corner because they're parked out so far. There's no, they don't give you 20 feet or 50 feet from the corner. They right up on the corner on both sides in the no parking zones.
Yeah.
And they park on, we have an alley behind our house where our garages meet.
Yep.
And you can't park back there. Well, no one does because we all live there. So we
Right.
don't park there. We have driveways and garages to park in.
Right.
And we come in there and there's a lot of kids in there. Well, people are using our alley as a through street because they come up Devonshire and there's no parking there because they've already taken it. So they come around through our little alley speeding down, and there's probably about, there's probably 20 kids that are under the age of 10 that live down there. They're in the alley all the time playing, riding their bikes, riding their little trucks and whatever.
So let's get you guys connected.
Yes.
And safety, we just had a work session about traffic safety, community
Somebody's gonna
safety.
get killed, and, you know,
And
they already have been over the
Absolutely.
apartments.
It is important. It's a goal of the city council. So
I
it
think
needs
there's
to,
been 2 over there in the last
Yeah.
3 years that have been killed by cars running over them.
and enforcement, we need to educate, enforce, and if additional changes are needed, we need to look at that. Absolutely. So thank
So,
you, Larry.
sir, is your contact information, your phone
Yeah.
number, and everything?
And I'd be glad to talk to you.
Okay.
And, you know, if it means blocking the street off or no parking the whole street, it's fine with me. Because we can't have people at our house.
Yeah,
We can't invite anybody over because we have to plan ahead. If we invite somebody over, we have our driveway and our garage.
yeah.
But we have to take our cars, pull them out and get a spot in the street. So our friends can come and park in our driveway. 'Cause they
And,
can't
and,
park.
there might, we're looking at forming this committee, which it isn't fast, but if the normal stuff doesn't work, maybe another solution is needed. No parking or a parking zone where there's,
We talked about that, a parking zone, pay for
park.
parking, basically. A
Yeah.
monthly ticket to pay the
yeah,
park.
yeah,
But what concerns us more than anything is the amount of time that they spend there. It seems like when they get a new car, they don't get rid of the old one, they just park it in the street. And it doesn't move. It just sits there.
Yeah.
And it adds to
That's-
congestion.
yeah. That's something that can be tracked. It needs to be tracked.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
much.
Thank you,
Thank
Larry.
you.
Thank you.
Nestor Martinez? Welcome.
Hi, I'm Nestor Martinez, Larry's neighbor, Mo's neighbor. Same concern, guys. I like to keep it a little light, but at the same time, I am beyond frustrated. I've almost been run over with my dogs because of speeding, same issue, line of sight. Vehicles are just driving too fast through there. They don't care, they don't see. I don't know what it is. I'd like to invite the police department, come sit down on my porch. I'm on the corner, clear view of everything that happens. My wife's almost been run over. She's almost been rear-ended. Same reasons. People are speeding. There's no line of sight there. Like Larry said, we have a lot of little kids running around the neighborhood doing little kid things, running
Right.
around.
Right.
They're innocent. They make mistakes. They don't pay attention. It is what it is. But we as adults should be a bit more careful about that. And I believe that, I don't know what the issue is, if there's any issue with the police department, but I don't know if they're being held back, if they're not getting the support that they need by giving them more officers. But they need to patrol that area a little bit more. I know that they're very busy handling more serious concerns, but at the same time, if I get run over, I'm going to be very upset about that. And I'm not going to go after the person that's driving. I'm going to go after the city because, hey, you guys aren't enforcing the laws over there. It's a very serious concern for me. Like he said, the illegal parking, or 30 vehicles illegally parked. I understand that there's, was it back in June or July, you guys had a session about it? But allowing vehicles, 100 and some odd hours for a vehicle to park there they chalk it, then they have to tag it, and then they can request a hearing. In the meanwhile, the vehicle can stay there parked. Well, people are abusing the system, and I don't think that's really fair. I pay my fines. If I get a speeding ticket, hey, I own up to it. There's no way for me to get out of stuff. Why are these people being allowed to, get out of these things where if they're parking illegally, it's not right, period.
Yep, and like I said, if giving it the attention it needs and if behavior doesn't change, there are other tools that we can explore doing. And maybe, your neighborhood is where it needs to happen. So because you're right, kids, community safety is an absolute priority of this council. That's why the work session we had right before this was about, let's get the process in place, a better process, so that we can address them neighborhood by neighborhood, street by street, in a good, responsible fashion to keep everyone safe.
That'd be great. I invite any of you guys to come over to my home and sit there, 4:45 to about 5:15, 5:30. Sit there, hang out, watch the traffic. You guys will see a lot of near misses. And you guys will be like, oh, smacks, it's not that,
Is the alley in your project, is it part of your HOA? Is it private? Is it public?
It's private, but it's a public right of way, I was told. But people still, we maintain it, but
I'm just thinking out loud and asking, so, okay.
we do. They can't do anything.
Well, they can fine us.
Oh, yeah, they can fine us for garbage cans. Garbage cans, but not speeding or the tickets. Lost the last one. But yeah, if you guys could include me on the work session, that'd be great. And if anyone wants to come over and hang out during the week and see the parking situation or speeding, you guys are more than welcome to. All right, guys?
Awesome.
Thank
For
you.
your time. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much, Nestor.
Hey, Chief, can I ask a question? I have a question for Chief. So they've mentioned a couple times, the cars parking more than I think it's the 120 hours, which we know that's the situation. But more concerning is they've mentioned cars parked in no parking zones or crosswalks. Is that something, those type that can have more immediate action? I mean, or do they still get a sticker in 3 days? I mean, no parking is no parking.
No,
Crosswalks are crosswalks
They get a citation.
immediately.
Yep.
But that's just on their windshield. They don't get towed or anything. They just get the citation.
Correct.
Okay.
Just a citation.
So no warnings on any of that kind of stuff.
Captain Carlson, would you say 150 is what the citation is?
It's 110.
110.
20 for a CO.
And I would say that most of the citations that are issued under state statute. So it's 110.
Okay.
Sounds like maybe we need to look at upping the city one from 20 to whatever we decide. But, and so even if a car is parked in a intersection, crosswalk, somewhere that presents a danger, we can't do an immediate
Oh,
tow?
that would be a hazard. That car would get removed immediately without
Okay.
notice.
Okay, so that does
Yep.
exist, okay.
Yes,
Best.
yeah,
You mean people that parked in the roundabouts?
We have them parked right up to it.
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, coming on dialogue. Shouldn't be doing that.
Park right up to it. In the morning, the school buses come, they have to drive over the median, which is up over that, around the park.
Yeah, and,
Pulling when they have closed.
yeah.
So
and-
let me just add, since my mic is still on, Mayor and Council, I believe there's another gentleman that's going to come up, but neither of the previous gentlemen have said anything that I disagree with.
Okay.
This is a challenging area. We're there, in my estimation, a fair amount. But we also have these types of issues throughout the community to deal with. But this is a problem area. So I want to set up, work with the HOA, and then we're going to work with the apartments again, which we have done before. Captain Carlson, if we wanted to, he could sit up here and talk for 15 minutes on the things we have done and the citations that we've issued. So on October 8th, we went out there and issued about 10 to 15 citations. And we do that, but they're absolutely right. It doesn't, you don't give people citations and they say, oh, I'll never do that again. It is a problem area. So can't disagree with the thing they're saying, but we will absolutely do everything we can to try to get a message across. And if that doesn't work, as you said, Mayor, then we'll work as staff to see what might be next.
Yeah.
Bob's still in the audience, so.
Okay, one more thing.
The reason that people don't park illegally in parking is because they have a code. They park in the fire zones, there's no parking zones inside, there's outside, they get towed that night. Where if they park outside, they get a $20 ticket or a $25 ticket.
Or they,
They don't have to pay the big toll.
Yeah.
And if you need the parking with meter control, I'll tell my company to do it.
Right.
I appreciate your volunteering, Larry. Larry from the audience is volunteering to form a company to be a meter monitor. Mo? Please.
Come on.
Esteban? Fantastic. Thank you, Mo.
Southern Nigerian name right there.
Awesome. Welcome.
Great to hear my middle name. All right, so as you guys will know, I'm one of the other neighbors. We could have brought probably about 10 other neighbors that with the same issues, but they're tired, they're home with their kids doing homework.
You bet.
So they spoke about the parking. What I want to talk about is the crosswalk coming off of Meineke onto Cedar Brook on that roundabout.
Yeah. The one that crosses Meineke, the one that crosses Cedar Brook.
The one that crosses Cedar Brook. So when folks come off of Meineke, they don't even see the yield sign, they don't see the, crosswalk sign, and they blow right through it. My son is one of those kids that rides his bikes all the time. He goes to Edie, so in the morning, kids are going after school, they're coming, and people are blowing right by. He's almost been hit twice since the school year started, and it's only October. So I don't know what we need to do right there. I know definitely some of the trees are blocking the crosswalk sign, so that could be a good start. Have those removed.
Or trim them up or something.
Trim them up. No, actually, they need to just be taken down. And I know, and I see in other neighborhoods where they have on the crosswalks, like, lit crosswalks, where you push a button and it, makes
Flashes,
you aware.
yeah.
From what I've been told, I guess the science behind how people drive is that as they're coming off of Meineke, they're looking for traffic, and before their mind can switch over to look for pedestrians, it's too late because the crosswalk is right there. It's right, the dog park
Yeah.
that goes down into the tunnel, the back way to Edie.
Yeah.
There's so many kids that walk through there, so many kids. And even during the summer when they're just on their bikes, my son's 10 years old. I like to see, my grandkids. And it's
Yeah.
if you sit on his porch, you'll see it every day. I've actually personally have, seen people zoom through and followed them and told them you can't do that. But I shouldn't be the one having to police it. Recently, my wife, she just bought a big stop sign that lights up from Amazon and some vests. And so now she's going to be out there trying to be a crossing guard when she has to go to work because we're that concerned about it. So, that's my spiel, but it's a very serious one.
Yeah.
Because they're 10. They're supposed to look both ways, but all
Yeah.
it takes is,
Yeah.
but they're 10.
Yeah, it's not the crosswalk's not, the crosswalk as designed currently is not functioning as
Yeah.
it needs to.
And, not just the kids, but as an adult, when I'm, looking to walk across the street with my dogs or whatever, I've got to be worried about some car getting ready to bomb down the street, that doesn't even know to look for me. So the signage needs to be worked on, maybe, I don't know, something to make them aware, to help them switch in their mind to looking for traffic to start looking for pedestrians. Because I think it's just it takes 3 seconds for your mind to switch over into that mode or something crazy. So that's it.
I appreciate you coming down here, Mo.
I got 30 seconds.
Larry definitely gobbled up your extra time.
And, that being said, a lot of cars will park all the way up to sometimes even almost over the crosswalk right there. So people are trying to, are bombing down the street and they're also about to hit these cars that are parked illegally right there as well. And then you got a kid in between. It's that whole corner, right? That whole circle right there is a recipe.
Yeah, and so I trust the chief and his team to start working on it, get people educated, change their behavior, if need be, work with staff to make changes to the street. I mean, moving a sign, changing a sign from parking to no parking, that's within the scope and authority of staff.
I have pictures of, line of sight, you can't see the signage at all.
Yeah, we have one neighborhood in town that's, you have to have parking permits.
Yeah, yeah.
So potentially, that's one extreme solution.
Quick question. Is there any way to have time, like, where between these hours of the day, let's say from 7 to 8 when the kids are going to school, where the crosswalk will actually like light up? Because I know
Certainly possible.
and I see some of their crosswalks like light up when there's a pedestrian. I don't know if it's a motion sensor or some kind of
Yeah.
where if there are kids right.
Yeah, when I was traveling in northern British Columbia this summer, where it's dark many days in a row.
Yeah.
Certainly most of the hours of the day. Their solution, I mentioned it to Joe, was they have crosswalks, and when they push the button, there's big signs over the crosswalk that light up saying, they're yellow crosswalks. But then there are literally there's
Crossing guards.
not crossing arms there, but there are
Things that go down.
lights that shine down very brightly that illuminate the whole path so that people know they can see them if someone's wearing dark clothing in the middle of the night or even the middle of the day and it's pitch black.
Because it's in the mornings, it's going to be real dark, and you're not thinking about kids, everybody's trying to get to work.
And your situation is very important, and on our mind now. We have more spots like yours in town.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I
that we want to work on as well.
And if I could just add, well, two things. One, I really appreciate you guys coming in and talking to us about this. It's something that's near and dear to me. That's an area that I'm becoming more aware of, so I appreciate you talking about it. There's other areas in the city that need work as well. But I was also going to make a note. We are getting close to forming a traffic calming advisory committee to work on these issues on behalf of the Police Advisory Board and the council. And we're looking at ways to empower them so they can handle issues at that level, and start to take steps to correct those problems. So I'd encourage.
We might have 3 applicants.
We might have 3 applicants right here to sign up for that.
And then the last thing I'm going to say is that corner in particular, because it's a bottleneck, because everyone's taking that back alley to Edie. So you have hundreds of kids, all it takes is one, so, and that's all I'm going to say.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mo.
Mayor?
Yep.
I apologize, but I want to address the specific issue that you brought up with the vegetation. So I think Officer Brinkman spoke with your wife a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And he immediately called me and said, "Hey, Chief, we've got a problem out here." I went out personally and immediately emailed Craig and said, "We've got a site problem." And Craig's crew, if they haven't already, will very soon be cutting firewood. If you already did? Yeah, so that's, just wanted to specifically address that so that sign can be seen, so.
Good.
Thank you. Appreciate the action.
Thanks, Mo. That is the last sheet I have for citizen comment. Anyone else want to address council? All right. Next is presentations. We have 2, not 1, that's on the list. First, a quick proclamation. I'm not going to read all of it, but declaring that 24th day of October 2019 as World Polio Day in Sherwood. Rotary is a global network of 1.2 million volunteers, neighbors, friends, problem solvers who unite to take action to create lasting change in communities across the globe. And the Rotary has been one of the driving forces in helping eliminate polio around the world. To date, Rotary's contributed more than 1.9 billion in countless volunteer hours to protecting more than 2.5 billion children in 122 countries. So I'm a proud Rotarian. I've got a couple of proud Rotarians, and city manager proud Rotarian. So with luck, we will eliminate polio in our lifetime.
We're down to 2 countries.
Down to 2 countries. So that's awesome. And we're proud to be able to recognize a young person in our community who has attained the rank of Eagle Scout. Is Jonathan Wakefield here? Welcome, Jonathan. If you'd sit at the table. Glad you could be here today. So this year, just recently, you attained the rank of Eagle Scout. Congratulations. As part of attaining the rank of Eagle Scout, you do a project.
Yes.
What project did you do? Tell us about it.
So I had the wonderful opportunity to be able to restore and remake the Maid Marian float for the Robin Hood Parade. So if you were all in the parade and saw that, I helped make that happen. The float was rotted in the middle, and it would break if you stepped on it. And so I was given a 2-week deadline to get it done. And me and my family and a couple of other scouts and their parents helped tear it down, rebuild it from scratch. We kept the frame, thankfully, but it all had to be redone, and I got it done in time for the parade.
Nice. That is, yes, will have a lasting impact because the Maid Marian Court is an integral part of our Robin Hood Festival. That is outstanding. So you you got the inspiration and then a deadline, and you had to take care of it in 2 weeks.
Yep.
How did you decide on that particular project?
My scoutmaster, Ronald Greger, who is the president of the Robin Hood
That makes sense.
We have a need.
So was it like the bed of the trailer itself, or was it all the stuff that goes on the float?
The plywood was what was rotting, and a couple of joists underneath the plywood were also rotted out, so those were all replaced.
So how many volunteers did you have help you, and did you get your materials donated?
I didn't have anything donated, but I got a lot of stuff at cost or discounted. And from years of being in the scouting community and fundraising for myself and my scout account to go to camps and whatnot, I had plenty enough money in that account to pay for everything.
Oh, nice.
So,
And you had troop members help you?
yes.
Awesome. That's a great project. 2 more questions. What year are you at? Did you graduate this year? Are you about to graduate this year?
I'm going to graduate. I'm a senior.
Outstanding. Do you have plans yet post-graduation?
Go to college. Where to yet? To be determined. But I'm hoping to get a degree in biology and become an optometrist.
Outstanding. And I suspect your parents might be in the audience. Are they? Introduce them for us.
My mom, Julie, and my dad sitting down, Troy.
Awesome. Well, on behalf of the City of Sherwood and the Sherwood City Council, we congratulate you on your outstanding achievement of attaining the rank of Eagle Scout. And I'll bring you the certificate of achievement. Awesome. Next on our agenda is public hearings. One public hearing, the second reading. Sylvia?
The Sherwood City Council will hold a public hearing this evening to hear testimony on ordinance 2019-011, amending Chapter 9.56 of the Sherwood Municipal Code regarding smoking and related activities on city property. This is the second hearing on this ordinance. The council will follow this public hearing to hear a staff report, questions, if any, by the council for staff. We will then receive any written testimony. We will then open the public hearing for testimony, and the time will be limited to 4 minutes per person. Any interested person may present testimony. We will then close the public hearing, and no other comments will be heard from the audience. Final comments by staff, questions of staff by the council, followed by discussion by the council. As this is the second hearing of the council, a decision may be made at the conclusion of this hearing, or the matter may be continued to a time and date certain. If the matter is continued to a time and date certain, this is the only notice of that date you will receive. If you wish to speak, please fill out a testimony form and submit it to the city recorder. The mayor will recognize people wishing to speak. Any questions should be addressed to the mayor. When you come forward, please state your name and address for the record, as this hearing will be recorded.
Thank you, Sylvia. Joe?
Mayor and council, I'll be fairly brief. This is, as Sylvia said, the second reading of this ordinance. It is fairly straightforward. We have had prohibition about smoking and tobacco use on city property since 2001. Many cities, with the advent of electronic cigarettes and vaping, have added and modified their ordinances to prohibit vaping and the use of those type of electronic cigarettes and devices on their city property. This ordinance would do that, would basically expand the prohibition to those type of uses.
And for the audience that's here or at home, city property means our plazas, our parks, as well as buildings.
Correct. So it's fairly straightforward. I don't know, Josh, the city attorney drafted the ordinance. I don't know if you have any questions specific to the language that he's proposing, or if he has anything more.
The only other thing that I would add is that since the first hearing, the mayor drew to my attention that people have invented yet another way to consume tobacco and nicotine products that has recently made its way to the United States. And we discussed how the ordinance language that we proposed is already broad enough to prohibit that type of product as well. So
I was traveling last month when I was in Europe, and I was seeing, I met a gentleman, and he, nonstop, he was taking these little short cigarettes out of a little tiny box and then putting them in this other thing, and it would light up he would, an LED would light up, and he would puff on it, and I had no idea what it was, and he spoke no English as we were talking through another friend. And then I saw an article online about this. It's very popular in Europe now and coming over here. It heats the tobacco. It doesn't burn it. It just heats it up to release nicotine oil or something. I have no idea.
yes, we are.
And in his case, he burned through a box of those in a half-hour meeting we had. I was just surprised. But so, yeah, interesting changes to technology. So, public hearing, second reading. Anyone like to give testimony in support or opposition of the ordinance? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing on the second reading of this proposed ordinance. Oh, I apologize, Tess. So, sorry, you'll have to come forward, Tess, and introduce yourself. And
my name is Tess Keys. I'm not giving you my address, but I do live in Sherwood. My question is, with all the different technologies there are, and now that the skate park is on the side of the YMCA in the city area, I'm assuming that would be posted there as well?
It is.
It already is.
I mean, it is, I know, but it's, I guess reinforcement.
You like it better posting?
I can't say yes to that, because it's like anything else. If people that aren't going to do it are going to pay attention to the sign, and people that are going to do it aren't going to pay attention to the sign. So I don't know what you do about that, but
Sometimes it is many different provisions of our code are complaint driven. So if you see bad behavior and there's of any category, report it. Non-emergency line.
I just wish we could ban smoking in the whole city. That'd be nice. Anyway, that's it. That was my only question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tess. Anyone else like to give testimony in support or opposition or neutral. Okay, we will close the public hearing. Council, any questions of staff or discussion?
I have one quick question. From an enforcement point of view, is this something that our sworn officers would enforce, or can our CSO also enforce it?
Yes,
Both?
all the above
Okay.
And our code enforcement officer as well?
as well, yes.
So we have many avenues of enforcement. Okay.
And it covers burning of all sorts of plant material?
Burning of anything, vaporizing of anything, inhaling the vapors from anything, yes.
It's covered.
All covered.
All covered.
Can I?
'Cause there was a day when cloves were the thing with some people.
Yes, there was.
Not me. I never smoked anything in my life.
Long time ago.
Hey, Mayor, I have a question. So, and maybe this is kind of for Craig. Do we know that on all public property, we have appropriate signs posted that are visible? Is that kind of a known thing? Okay, I mean, I thought so. I mean, I haven't not seen a sign where I thought it should be, but is there one out? I see sometimes people, I don't know why, but they dash over here to the plaza between, like under the trees on the bench, and they're just puffing away, and that's technically all public property right there. So, I mean, is there a sign somewhere? I don't want to pollute that beautiful walkway with.
There may be needs for additional signage in
Yeah.
areas such as that.
So as long as Craig's confident that we have it, then I'm.
And is it clear with the current signage that vaping would be
That's a
included?
very good question, and
That
we'll
we
have
need
to
update the
confirm. We
signs?
may have to add vaping specifically to our signage.
Do we have a budget for that?
We replace signs on a
We will
regular basis.
find the money to do that if you pass this ordinance.
Joel will figure it out.
Figure it out.
Figure it out, Joe.
Figure it out.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion, or I'll
Right ahead.
read
Read caption.
caption. I read caption, adopt ordinance 2019-011, amending chapter 9.56 of the Sherwood Municipal Code regarding smoking and related activities on city property.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was the second? Ordinance 2019-011, amending Chapter 9.56 of the Sherwood Municipal Code regarding smoking and related activities on city property. Counselor Scott?
Aye.
Counselor Griffin?
Aye.
Counselor Browse?
Aye.
Counselor Young? Aye. Counselor Garland?
Aye.
Council President Rosner?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, council, and thank you, Joe. City manager report.
Mayor and council, I have just two quick items, and then we'll take any questions that council might have. It's still a little less than a month away, but Veterans Day is coming November 11th, so the city will once again have a Veterans Day event on Monday, November 11th at 11 a.m. At the center, Sherwood Center for the Arts. This is always a well-attended event, and we want to promote it as much as possible. I can already see the two of you talking about who's in town and everything, so.
I need to look.
Yes, and if the mayor is unavailable, Council President Rosner, who is a vet,
I would love to
certainly
do it.
would love to probably
Yep.
be the MC. So I really, we'll be promoting that event as we always do, and it's a very important event. I want to also kind of plug a new event. It's going to happen actually sooner than that. So we all know the Bowman Family Foundation here in town does a lot of wonderful events and is linked with the city. They're doing a new event at the football game at the high school. So they're going to do a Veterans Tailgate Barbecue. It's a free barbecue and free admission to the football game for any veteran and their guest. This will be on October 25th, which is coming up on a Friday from 5:30 to 7 at the stadium. They want to encourage as many of our veterans to come to the barbecue and then attend the Bowman game that night. I think they play Liberty, which should be a good game. But this is a first-time event for the community. I have a feeling this will now become a new tradition here in town. And I just wanted to put a plug in for it since it just got launched. And October 25th is right around the corner, so. Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Awesome. Absolutely.
Those are my two announcements. I would take any questions council might have on anything. A number of my department heads are here as well, so.
Awesome. Any questions? Awesome. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Council announcements. Who'd like to start?
I'll go, unless you want to go, Doug. All right. So I attended the Parks Board meeting on Monday night, and I just want to give an update on, we had the great BMX bikers come, super nice, very great gentlemen, super nice guys. And they spoke to the board, and the board listened patiently as they said their stuff. Their content was basically the same content that we heard at City Council. And the board feels that the current action of, well, let's wait and see is at the moment the most appropriate action. And then maybe at some point in the future, after we've had some updates and we kind of see how it's going, and maybe when some of the newness wears off, we just don't know yet. So, but the board, Kristen, would you agree with that? That's to kind of just let it go for right now. It was never meant to be a personal exclusion of any particular group. But first and foremost, it's a safety thing, I think, is what the board is thinking. So, all right. And I think that's it, except, and the Robin Hood Festival Association, their committee is having a meeting this Thursday night at 7 at the Midday Masonic Lodge, and they're putting the final pieces together for the Winter Festival, which is December 7th at 4 p.m. So if you want to get involved, you can show up to the meeting on Thursday night. That's it.
Awesome. Councilor Young?
I don't really have any announcements, but I did just want to do a quick address of the letter that was given to us by Jim and Susan Claus. So it's not something we need to vote on to put it on the agenda. So really just 3 of us counselors need to let Joe know to put it on the agenda. So it's not something we need to vote on tonight, but just getting 3 of us to say, hey, do you want to put this on the agenda? So just wanted to let you know that's, if you didn't see us taking action, that's probably why.
Okay.
My turn?
Sure, if you want.
Actually, I'm going to surprise you all. I really don't have anything tonight.
Okay.
So I'm going to let him move
Councilor
along.
Browse?
I
thought there was going to be a butt there, and I was just trying to cut you off.
I don't have a lot either, but Adrian, the library manager, did send me these updates to share, so I want to honor that. The library is a stop on the Old Town Halloween trick-or-treating, so that's coming up on October 31st. And there will be a booth there from 3 to 6 on that date for candy and allergen-friendly treats. Also, just to share some updates on some data, the value of library services provided to this community in the fiscal year was over $9 million, which is pretty incredible. And that's a 7-fold return on the investment of local taxpayer dollars, another pretty incredible stat. And then 64% of the Sherwood Public Library's funding comes from Washington County Cooperative Library Services, with 21% of the budget coming from the WCCLS 5-year local option operating level. So we have a real treasure here, and not only in what is contained in that space, but also in the staff. They're doing a great job. I think that's pretty it for me. I've been in Scotland, so I'm a little bit out of it.
I'll make mine brief as well, since we do have a work session after this. On October 2nd, I attended the Regional Water Providers Consortium Board up in Portland. They're a group that I talk about often here. They have 2 main goals. One of them is talking about water conservation, and as summer is kind of winding down, that's not as much of their focus any longer. So I would direct you to their other thing, which is emergency preparedness. It's always something we need to be thinking about. Everyone's heard about the Cascadia thing. So just a little tip for you, go to regionalh2o.org. They have a lot of great information on how to prepare you and your family for any type of emergency, be it an earthquake or any other type of situation where water may become scarce. The number to keep in mind, 1 gallon of water per person per day for 2 weeks. So that works out to 14 gallons. So do the math, however many people you have in your house, 14 gallons. And so they've got some great tips on their website on how to gather and store that water, how to use your water heater in an emergency for drinking water. So check them out. The other thing I would like to talk about is also that morning, bright and early on a cold Wednesday morning, we had the Walk and Roll to School Day at the Archer Glen. It was the pilot program for the Safe Routes to School program. Big shout out to Joy Chang, one of the city staff here, the planner, who has some history with safety programs for children going to school. She did a great job coordinating that. We had some officers from the Sherwood Police Department there also assisting, a lot of great volunteers from Archer Glen, and the numbers that they put together was approximately 60% of the students at Archer Glen either walked or rode their bikes to school that day, which is great. It was a very cold morning, and so it was great to see all those kids getting out. Had a raffle for new bike helmets, and we gave out some little prizes, little things to reflective gear for shoes, backpacks, and stuff to increase visibility for children who are riding or biking to school, to make them more visible to cars, which I think is very applicable to what we were talking about this evening with pedestrian safety for children. So something that, based on how well that worked out, I think we're going to keep talking to the school district and see what we can do to help out kids on their way to school. So that's all I've got.
Counselor?
Piggybacking on the pedestrian safety thing a little bit, something just struck me that I think about often as I drive through my neighborhood, especially this time of year as it gets darker when people are coming from school. A lot of people like to wear, and myself included, black and gray. And I always find myself, even going 20, 25 miles an hour, I can't see somebody until I'm a car length away. And I don't think, so something definitely for drivers to be aware of, absolutely, but also for people to be aware of. Like, if you're a pedestrian, be aware that drivers cannot see you until they're practically on top of you. And I'm not putting any blame anywhere other than everyone needs to be more aware of what colors you're wearing and where you're at. And especially like a lot of walkers and joggers seem to like to walk down the road instead of the sidewalk, which is 5 feet away. So just be aware as we get darker earlier that it's hard to be seen in your dark clothing. Planning Commission updates. The work session that I originally mentioned last time was going to happen this past Tuesday was delayed, and it's instead happening 2 days from now. It's here, right? Still here. Yeah, so still in this room. It'll be on Thursday night this week. There's it's a work session. It's not a public meeting, but it is open to the public, of course. 3 topics, comprehensive plan update. The next section they're going to start working on is strong community, culture, and heritage. So they're going to review some draft goals and policies. They're going to look at have a work session on a potential future public hearing for some code amendments for industrial areas. And then finally, they're going to get a primer from Julia and her team on the impacts of Senate Bills 2001 and 2003 from this last legislative session, which are basically driving housing mandates down to the city level that we have to follow. So how that's going to impact our comprehensive plan as well as our code and everything else. So the Planning Commission is getting a little bit of a primer on that. Lastly, there's been a lot of chatter over the weekend on Facebook around fence code updates. So that's something the Planning Commission has been working on through a series of work sessions that I think started late last year and have kind of continued early into this year and then have been kind of on the back burner for a while, but are now, I think, coming back up again as we get toward the end of this year. And so I really shout out to Julia, who really turned around some good information quickly today to kind of get accurate information out on the website around what updates are being considered, what would happen if those pass as far as existing fences, new fences, and all those things. So I definitely encourage you all to go out on the city's website and check that information out. And if you're interested in involving yourself in the process, it is public hearings. There will be a public hearing at Planning Commission around any potential updates, and then I think it has to come to council again for another public hearing. So plenty of opportunity to weigh in. So if you are concerned or interested, go ahead and get yourself involved.
Awesome. Thank you, Doug. A couple things. First, we've heard some examples of your city council certainly doesn't know everything, can't do everything, and we rely a great deal on our community volunteer committees. Planning Commission, our Police Advisory Board, which we talked about, community safety, traffic calming, our Library Board, our Parks Board, Cultural Arts, Budget, soon to be Senior Advisory Committee. Anyways, we rely a great deal on them to do the heavy lifting, to have a lot of the public engagement before issues come to us, and then we do more engagement with the community on topics. So really appreciate those volunteers to go through the details to help our community better. I guess, fence code, simple, right? No. Good safety in our streets and our community, simple, right? Well, it's not as simple. So thank you to all those that volunteer and also give testimony to those groups. Went to the Washington County Coordinating Committee meeting yesterday. Got a presentation from Metro. They are embarking on they want to rethink how we do transportation planning, TS, transportation system plans. Don't know what that means truly, but when they're done, we get to update ours if need be. So it's always just challenging. But hopefully it'll be a good result to benefit everybody when it comes to transportation, all forms of transportation. And then we talked about Metro's status of their federal flexible funds, that they are evaluating projects around the region, and then the status. We have an application in there for in the freight category. Thankfully, there's not a lot of applications in the freight category. We're the only application in Washington County, so our chances are very, very, very good. Knock on wood, because the trails and non-road transportation categories have a lot. They have 2-3 times the number of application dollars in for the money they have available. So that'll be a little more of a blood sport to settle that out.
Is that what it's like?
Well, you know,
Challenge.
it's challenging. Every application is worthy and good, and then they have to somehow evaluate which ones get awarded, and not an easy thing. And that's all I have for this evening. We will adjourn and go to a work session. Thank you, everyone.